Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the 5-part video series where Merps teaches you how to get good at Hearthstone Arena. Let's talk about drafting. Now, drafting is one of those areas that probably gets talked about the most because it's really fun, and I think a lot of people view it as very controllable. This is one of the things that they get to control, and because of that, they put a lot of emphasis on it. Now, what is the goal of drafting? Whenever you go into a draft and you're picking your cards, your goal is to draft a cohesive winning deck. Now that sounds super obvious, right? Next, what I'm going to say is going to sound pretty obvious as well, but I think people forget this from time to time. You want to make the best decision at that time, knowing what you are likely to get in the future. And your overall goal is creating a path to winning the game. Okay. If you want to have fun, if you want to shoot for the moon, that's fine. But you have to understand that that's what you are trying to do. So, with that goal in mind, here are the basics. Number one, you can use resources. There's nothing wrong with using resources. I'm going to pitch thelightforge.com. The tier list that Advocate and I have created and update regularly. We have an advanced algorithm. We obviously believe in it very much, but definitely use resources. So, number two, pick the best card. Wow. Now you're wondering, I sure am glad I watched this video series. Thank you for that advice, Merps. No, but really, what you want to do, at least in the first few picks, is just pick the best card. And it's whenever you have a very close pick, like two cards that you see are pretty close in value, that is when you want to pick the card that fits the mana curve better. And you want to prioritize your mana curve higher when you're deeper in the draft. At pick 5, you pretty much just want to pick the best card available. When you're at pick 20 or pick 25, well, now you really need to focus on your lack of 2 drops, your lack of 3 drops, etc. The next thing I want to emphasize is dream when you sleep, not when you draft. What does this mean? Look, we all love to have fun and dream big whenever we draft. That super synergy card on pick 2 might look really juicy, but a lot of the times won't pan out. Now, I'm not saying to never pick synergy cards. In fact, with the way that Hearthstone is going, a lot of times you do have to take risks. You do need to pick synergy cards. But understand exactly the amount of risk that you're taking, and you can go to websites like hsreplay.com to see if I pick card A, what are my chances of getting the cards that interact with card A? That's very important. Now, having said how important that is, how important is drafting overall? It's not that important. This is why, when I was saying at the very beginning, a lot of people put a lot of importance on drafting, it's very misplaced. And it's easy to put importance on drafting because it is one of the first things that you do in the deck, and it feels very controllable, right? It's a step-by-step process. But really, the draft is not as important as playing. Playing is exponentially more important, which is why this video is going to be a lot shorter than the next video. So just remember that. And if you just, at the beginning, use resources like thelightforge.com, you can draft a good enough deck and you can focus on what's really important, which is playing and turn planning. So after you draft your deck, what do you want to do? I think this is even more important than you actually drafting. After you have drafted your deck, you need to, before you queue up into your first game, mentally take stock of your deck's strengths and weaknesses. What does that mean? There are many ways to break this down. You want to see, oh, I have a weakness in my mana curve on turn 3, for example. I have a weakness on turn 5. And what does that mean, right? Now you apply it to what you know about the meta. You also want to identify, oh, wait, this deck has no initiative, right? It just has minions that I put on board. They have summoning sickness, and that might be a problem. If I'm behind, that's a huge problem, and you need to understand that. You need to know that before you play your deck. Always ask the question, how does my deck win? It doesn't have to be a specific card. You don't need that big bomb legendary on turn 8 or turn 10 in order for you to identify how your deck wins. It could just be incremental gains over, the first 4 turns, and then you buff it on turn 5 because you have like 3 buffers on turn 5, and then you win from the amount of tempo you have on board. That's a win condition as well. Maybe you have tons of removals along with some 3 or 4 very big cards that also generate more cards. Okay, you've identified your win condition there. I need to be safe until those turns in order for me to win. Next, you should be thinking what you are looking for in the mulligan. And this comes out of you examining your curve, and it also comes out of examining how you win with your deck, right? So if you need to hold them off for a long time in order to win, well, maybe that heavy AoE on turn 4 or turn 5 you wouldn't keep in a normal deck, but now you keep in this deck. These are all things that you need to think about because there's tons and tons of stuff to think about in the game itself. So you want to think about that there. Now, as you've noticed, I haven't spent lots of time talking about draft. And specifically, it's because it's very meta dependent. Drafting is very, very meta dependent. And no matter what, I don't want you guys to focus so much on drafts that you miss the most important part of Hearthstone Arena, which is playing. So I'll see you in the next video where we're going to go over how you should think through your entire turn. See you guys there.